The Cuddy. So yeah, hey, so we're live. I'm gonna drop the comment here for our vlog. You can see our daily vlog. I got my man Nick on the sticks, so you can watch along at that link. And we're here answering all your top 3 business questions, leadership questions, influence questions. And so I wanted to kind of make this a point to start doing this every day. Yo, what's up, Georgie? You know, look, I had to learn the hard way. We've got 200 employees today and had to hire 1,000 people to get there. So I know there's insight, I know there's a lot of questions. It's gonna take a little bit for the momentum to build, but I think that there's a lot of things. I think there's a lot of people out there building businesses. I think there's a lot of people out there, internet entrepreneur. A lot of my following is in Europe or other places. And so I wanted to get on and I wanna do this every day. It's gonna be every day, 12:03. We're gonna be running leadership business questions live. And so, so Instagram's asking me if I want to hide this from anybody. So we're going to be answering any of those questions, anything you guys want, and we'll go through it. So hit me as you got them. How did Steve? So he said he knows CFM.
Yeah, I mean, we went through it, and he's like, yeah, that makes sense. He's like, that was it. That was as complex as it needs to be.
That was as complex.
Yo,
George, how you doing, bro? Hit me up. It looks like you're traveling a lot, bro, right? Red Hot Naples? I didn't realize that was an Instagram. So he knows it?
At very least, I want him to go through it with me, like him to walk me through it, and then I think that'll be good.
Cool.
Be solid.
Do you think entrepreneurs are a phase? You know, we've been having some pretty deep conversations lately about what entrepreneurship is, and I don't think it's a phase, but I think a pendulum swings. And I think the pendulum is swinging. It's swaying into entrepreneurship because I think businessman was classic, and so the whole internet age made internet entrepreneurs. So I don't think it's a phase, but I think the pendulum is the weight is on entrepreneurship now. But I think that it's about to start swinging back. And so a lot of the content we're creating, a lot of the content we're getting ready to put out there is all about being a businessman. Because entrepreneurship's cool, but it's cool when you've got a script that runs a Shopify store or something like that, but it ain't being a businessman or a woman. Businessman or businesswoman, you have to hire people, you have to fire people. You've got hundreds of employees, tens of employees. You've got to deal with making payroll. You've got to deal with things that come up in being a business person that doesn't necessarily come up with being an entrepreneur. And so, not that entrepreneurship is bad, but I think that what is being neurally associated in your brain, I think what's being neurally associated with being an entrepreneur versus being a business person is the association of an internet entrepreneur, or, you know, writing scripts or writing code. And that's all important. But a business person has those people that write code and that bring those people onto his team to develop products. And we've got a development team. We've got the freaking 4 best developers that I would say we have in Florida. And that's rare. Florida's kind of a tech boom. But that's kind of, I think the biggest difference, if I was to sum it up and put that in place, it's a great question. Because I think the biggest difference between an entrepreneur and a business person is that a business person has those types of coders and developers, the micro things that an entrepreneur would need. I think a business person has on his team. Otherwise, he's not a successful business person. So it's a good question. Entrepreneur, create, innovate, dominate. Georgie, you know, bro. You know. What's up? Dude, it's good. You can ask me whatever you want.
What's the price?
Price of what?
System.
6. See, that's what it is. Where am I from? Naples, Florida. EGA, Septania. Tell me what that means. Yeah, Naples, Florida. Paradise. Hit me with any business, leadership, people questions you guys want. George, you got to have some. Sorry, I had a call coming in. George, you got to have some questions. I know you know a lot, but maybe contextually we've got different opinions on things. I should have turned, my phone is blowing up right now. I should have turned on airplane mode. I'm getting phone calls, I'm getting text messages, I'm getting Google Hangouts. Any Google Suite lovers out there, go ahead and hit me up. We love the Google Suite here in our business, hashtag business. hey, look, if you guys want to see, again, if you guys want to see what we do, like my man Nick here on the sticks, if you guys want to see what we do every day, we're in our training room right now, but there's a link. My first comment in the link is our daily vlog. So Georgie comes through with a softball, a meatball. What advice would I give myself at 18? And what's cool about this is we're currently writing a book, and the subject of it, haven't really decided on the title yet, but the subject of it is what would I tell my 17-year-old self? So I think that if I know that if I knew what I knew now about people and psychology and influence and leadership, I think that at 17 years old I'd be fucking superhuman. And so, but I think that it's important as a 17-year-old is you don't realize that your shit isn't just your shit. Or you don't realize that how much of a pattern history actually travels in. Like when you hear about old Gary Vee talk about like his predictions, and his predictions about, and they are predictions, but it's just paying attention to pattern recognition about how when people left the radio and they went to the television, what that environment or that context was like, or like when they left the newspaper and they went to the radio, or when they left the telegram, they left the handwritten letter and went to the telegram. If you just pay attention, because the one thing that hasn't changed for thousands of years is human behavior. And human psychology, we're all still the same. We all still have the same problems, we all have the same thoughts, same ideas, the same fears, fear of missing out, fear of being left out, we have the same pains and pleasures. And I think at 17 years old, you don't realize that. And so when you talk about pattern recognition for the thousands of years, you just got to look at how people responded to the changing climate of communication, or the changing context of the way people communicated, or the way they led people or built businesses. And I think that it's important to pay attention to what happened when the the written letter became the telegram, or what happened when the newspaper became the radio, or the radio became the TV. And so at 17 years old, you don't realize that. At 18 years old, you don't realize that. And you, if you do pay attention to it, then you end up with an astronomical advantage, a Superman edge over how people are going to respond to your marketing, or how people are going to respond to your leadership. And when you're able to influence people, customers, employees, you're able to get a lot of shit done. And you're able to gain a lot of momentum with getting it done. So at 17 years old, you've got to understand if there's one thing I wish high school, to kind of take your question, George, and go off into a tangent. There's one thing I wish they would have taught in high school would be something like practical psychology. Like truly, how does the brain turn memories into actions for your body, instincts, and how does the human element really respond to leadership and people? Because all that you got to really do is connect people to the bigger picture. And so if there's one thing that I think is very important in direct correlation to success in business, is influence on people, customers, and employees. And the biggest difference that I think between an entrepreneur and a business is an entrepreneur may not have that many people behind them, or they're diversified into many different little businesses, whereas a business person is more of a macro, I've got 5,000 people, you've got to be strong in influence and leadership. And I think that's one class that high school should teach is practical psychology to a degree. Why 90% of people has a problem about psychology? 19-year-old asking. I think that the majority of people have a problem about psychology, your name, keep moving forward, is because they're just not aware. Gary talks about self-awareness, but I think that only tells part of the story. I think it's important for you to know, be aware of yourself, but I think it's more important to be aware of how humans behave. And that's what I mean by practical psychology. It isn't that people are dumb, or they don't get it, or they don't have the capacity to learn. I think they just don't know. They don't know that as human beings, you either make a decision for one of two reasons. One, you move towards pain, or two, you move towards pleasure. And that's the one thing that hasn't changed since there were dinosaurs running around here. And there were people outside, hiding in caves, and the strong will survive. And all that shit is real. And survival of the fittest is an actual thing. Look, because what I can promise you is if you weren't paying attention to a dinosaur that came out of a bush and you didn't know how to run or respond or hide, you got eaten and you died. So I think that at an essential level, people have a problem with psychology is because they aren't aware of what people make decisions around. That's customers, that's employees, that's friends, that's family. And at our pure essential root of all the way back into when we were in the dinosaur age, people made decisions to move towards pain, move away from pain or move towards pleasure. And so when you understand that that's why all decisions are getting made, then you're able to respond to it. Look, when a customer calls in unhappy, at a very essential root, I know they just don't want to not be unhappy. So my job is to say happy. So hey, Mr. Customer, Louis Bruno, how can I help? Great, so I understand what you're telling me, and from what I understand, you just wish X or Y or Z scenario wouldn't have happened, so you just wish that next time it would have happened. Yeah, great, good. Well then I know, here's what I can do to assure you, it's a mistake we've made, or it's a process we haven't solved. So you connect them to the pleasure, because they had pain, you connect them to the pleasure, and that's all they want. Now they're happy. So I don't think it's that 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 40-year-olds aren't self-aware, GV. I don't think it's that they don't know. I think that they're just not connected to what drives human beings, pain or pleasure. And that's at a very central root. Now, the next thing is once you're aware of what pain or pleasure is or how it forces you to interact, I think it becomes something where you understand that as a person, as a human being, you make one of two decisions every day. Decision one, and this is mother effing gold. Like, this is shit that you guys should have written down, inscribed, tattooed on your damn forehead. Because if we've got 200 employees, had to hire or fire or quit 1,000 people to get there, and the one thing that nobody can get out of their own way about is that what things mean to them and what to focus on. So if you determine that a negative scenario is, you've determined in your mind's eye or in your mind that it's a negative scenario or that it's there to hurt you, well, guess what it's always going to do? It's always going to fucking hurt you, period. However, if you've determined, hey, you know what? You neurally associate a memory or something else to it, that it's more of a moving towards pleasure, well, guess what you can reproduce every time? And so those are two decisions. The first absolute most important two things are moving away from pain or moving towards pleasure, and the second two are what to focus on or what things mean to you. And so that's the first two elements to practical psychology. Keep moving forward. Great stuff, brother. I'd love to hear some thoughts on growing a brand like you've done. Look, growing a brand is a really cool thing, and I love talking about it, because what's cool about it is it's not rocket science. Like, people talk about you when they're happy or when you've added value to their life. Or people relate or remember your message or your marketing when you've added value to their life. So, look, and I kind of fell into it. It was an accident. I read Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, back in 2012. And I said, hey, you know what? This makes a lot of sense. I started implementing it on my sales calls, and I started noticing that people really cared when you put their considerations first. And so when I decided to start Bruno, I decided to go and knock on, I lived in a 1,100 family home community. I went and knocked on 770 of their doors, and I asked 5 questions. I said, hey, look, out of these out of you calling a plumber or an air conditioning man or an electrician, you know, what would you like to see? What pissed you off? Have you had to call one? What problems have you had? What would you prefer to see? And I really had an astonishing thing. There was probably 10 results, but there was 5 or 6 results that happened over and over and over again. So what did I do? I framed our messaging, I framed our brand, I framed our model to fit what the majority of people want to see out of an AC guy, a plumber, or an electrician. And so that added a lot of value, and so they helped me grow my brand. It's quite complicated. If I stood on the top of a mountain and I tried to yell to 1 million people, my voice wouldn't carry very far. However, if every person I interacted with believed through our messaging and our marketing and our business processes that we actually believed in what we were saying, and it's actually something that added value to their life, then each person that I come into contact with, each piece after, distributes the brand for you. And so it's as simple as that. Find out what adds value, find out what people would prefer to see when interacting, and then start letting people feel it, and they'll carry the message for you. Yeah, buddy. Keep moving forward. Let me know if that answered your questions about practical psychology, you know, why 90%. Look, if you had to look up those two things, that's what you got to look up. You got to look up, you know, moving towards pain, or moving away from pain, or moving towards pleasure, or you've got to look up, you know, what things mean to you, and that's what you got to decide. You make those 2 essential decisions. You know, decision of what things mean to you or what to focus on are 2 conscious decisions you make. And if you're in control of those decisions, you go from having bad months to having bad weeks to having bad days or maybe a bad hour. If you have a bad hour and you catch yourself, hey, I've had a pretty fucking bad hour, and you're deciding you're having a bad hour as a subconscious decision off of a conscious decision of what to focus on or what things mean to you, that, hey, I've had a bad hour because of this, then you're in control of it and you say, fuck it, shift the switch. This is what I'm gonna focus on. This is what the rest of the day is going to mean to me. And then you don't have a bad hour. You don't have a bad week or bad month. You instantly shift what things mean to you, and then you have a good fucking day. Or you have a good fucking hour. And then a good hour leads into another good hour, and it means that you had another good hour, you had a good day, you had a good week, you had a good fucking life. Because you changed what things mean to you. Do what you love and keep doing what you believe in. That's right. And look, you know, and I got another meeting I want to run. But I want to leave you with this one thing. What's really, and follow the vlog to pay attention, but what's really fucking cool about trying to build this following and trying to build this social presence is I've already done all this before. Like, I know how this story ends because I built a business. Because I built a company of 200 people, $25 million, one of the fastest growing companies in the country, $60 million in sales to date since we started 4.5 years ago. And so I have already seen these patterns. I already know what it's like leading and influencing and motivating people. Do we have all the answers yet? No. But what's really cool about building this social presence, and we're doing a pretty good job of it so far, but what's really cool about it is I already know how the story ends up. I've already lived this. I already lead people. There's 200 people that make decisions based on the way that we want to run our company every single moment of every single day. And that's all social media is. It's just a big conglomerate of people. And so if I had to leave you with one thing, if you've built a business and you know how to build a business, you can build a following, you can motivate, lead, energize people, and that's what it's about. And that's what the greatest impact is in the world, is contribution. You know, you can do a lot of things. There's six essential human needs. And the two most important, the only two that are ever gonna motivate you to actually make a difference in this world are love and contribution. And when you're able to contribute and you're able to spread love, you're gonna grow. And so that's just simple. What kind of business, Rob? We're gonna run, but we are in the business of providing an extreme level of comfortability and air conditioning and plumbing and electric. So that's what we do, Naples, Florida. But we're in the people business, man. If you are in business and you're in the service business, you're in the people business. So thanks, guys. Top comment, I dropped our vlog. Go subscribe, watch more of this. Got my man Nick on the sticks, and we're out. Got to go run the business. Thanks. YouTube, you get the special access. So go ahead and follow on Instagram, @Bruno, but pay attention to what we're doing here. Because look, the best part about this is I don't have all the answers. But if you map my actions, everything I'm doing today, everything you're seeing and watching on the channel and watching in the subscription videos, everything that's there is what built this 200-person place. Period. Because it's motivating, leading, influencing people. And that's all social media is. So how do I know we're gonna have 1 billion effing followers? Because I've already done it. I already know what looking and running a successful business looks like. And so that's all social media is. It's just the cascade and transparency of people. And so once you know how to lead, motivate, align, demotivate, influence, change direction people, and you can do it on a macro scale of running a business with 15 different teams and a lot of different over 50,000 customers, then building a social presence, it's just work, but it's easy, but it's work. And so YouTube, you get the uncut, unfiltered, subscribed access. Thanks for tuning in.